Have you heard this one? Arcade1up Countercades are small. You know what else is small? The NES Mini, the Classic Edition. 2017, I stood outside all night, this very location, to pick up one of those. This is where it all started. The NES brought me back into retro gaming, started collecting Sega Genesis, moved on to Arcade1ups. Yeah, just stood in the line all the way down. It was freezing. It was back when you could check to see like the SKU number if it was showing up. And when I came up, it was called Miller Parkway. I saw like 1 or 2 cars. It's like 3:30 in the morning. Came out here and we all started lining up, and eventually there was more people lined up than they had Nintendos for. And a representative came out and said, you know, this is how many we have. So you do the head count, and once you knew you were in, you waited it out. Waited for the store to open. That's where it all started. And nobody complained about the size of that Mini. Came with those 30 games. The first Nintendo, the one that I picked up, your electronics, it's actually down in the aisle to the back. I didn't keep that one. Gave it to my uncle, huge Nintendo fan, for Christmas. Actually waited outside a couple more times. As crazy as that sound. All these carts. But that's where it all, that's the beginning. You know, these carts right here, it's like there's online orders, or are they clearance? This is the only Target in the area that still has the Ms. Pac-Man Countercades. You can see that the Marvel superheroes, now they are in the back. I don't want to ask to get it brought up, but I want to say that it is half off, so $74.99 for that Ms. Pac-Man Countercade. And you know, from experience, yeah, they're small, but I want to do some comparisons, and that's why I wanted to come here first. It's a shame they weren't on display here. I don't want to make a stink about it. Thought, hey, what the heck, we'll stop here first because this is the one Target you can still pick them up for, but $74.99. There's a lot of other things that are small. Cell phones are small too. Funko Pop figures, exclusively only available at Target. We have Magneto, Jubilee, and in my hand here. Kind of small too, isn't it? Yeah, pretty cool display, like right in front of the electronics department. Never seen this before. Set up like this. Get Andre the Giant. Honestly, I've never, see where I'm going with this? I've never heard anybody complain about the Nintendo Switch before. This screen kind of reminds me of another screen. It's too bad I don't have a Countercade, like live action Countercade I can go off of right now. I don't. Do you remember that video where the gentleman brought up the Marvel superheroes? That stockroom was like way on the other end. I don't see it over here like the stockroom, and guys, I can't do it. Just gotta use our imagination here. The screen reminds me of a Countercade. I gotta just point out some stuff just because we're here. Not seen these figures before. Look at Boba Fett. Look at this retro, nostalgic look. What do we got in the back here? Look at Anakin. Vintage. Just love those vintage Star Wars. You know, the best thing, I always say this about going to other stores. Look, you know what happens, you know, we're doing walk and talks, other things come up, life happens, we gotta point it out. These are great stuff. You can really, just that packaging, that counter. Everything you see nowadays between Walmart and Target, you could have a great lineup here. The vintage collection. Luke Skywalker himself with Grogu. Who didn't tear up during that scene? Yeah, the Jedi Master himself. If you have not seen the Amazing Spider-Man, not a cheap figure, you know, 27, 30 bucks. That original look. First time we saw Spider-Man, he had that navy blue with the red. Also some Alfred. Did see a few of these. They have 5 of them here. 5 Alfred Pennyworth. This is a special Target to me because this is where I went to get that Nintendo. So they gave you a ticket when you walked in, you walked down that aisle, and we just went up here, we paid for it on the spot, they bagged it, and we left with the Nintendo, and you kind of raced to your car because 6 Alfred. Because you didn't want to get jumped for it. I mean, back then, that was a hot ticket. I mean, we're camping out. They have a ton of Boba Fett's here. We're camping out. Kind of thought that was the guy from the Thundercats. For those Nintendos, and you know, it can get pretty gnarly. Never once did I hear anyone say that the NES Classic or the SNES Classic was, you know, it was small. We all knew it was small. We all know that the Countercades are small. With the Black Manta. We didn't complain about it. It was the coolest thing ever. I mean, it was, what was it, 21 games on the SNES Mini, 30 on the NES. Yeah, I still have mine. I mean, they're awesome. They do have some cool clearance, so check this out, Cinderella. You know, it's stuff like this. It's just like, do you need it? Can you? When are you gonna see it again? Look at the Hulk's foot. Hulk smash. This video was gonna be about Countercades. This had some comments about, hey, these are small. You know, they have multiple form factors, which we all know, and I just wanted to do some comparisons. And in that comparison, stopping at that Target made me realize that if it wasn't for that very Target, that very day, standing in line, that excited about the NES Classic, that's what got me back into this. That led to collecting other things, childhood figures, action figures, leading into the Arcade1up, seeing those at Walmart, saying if they ever have X-Men, I'm in, I'm gonna get it. There's another store inside of Macy's that we're gonna stop at, another place where I did wait for one of those NES Classics. Again, if it wasn't for these places, I might not be standing here today. There we go, right inside of Macy's on one end of the mall. Just gotta go down to the basement like the Alamo. Second time I've been here, and it is kind of hard to find, especially finding where these escalators are. Kind of walking around the whole store, but you'd think there'd be signs trying to attract people here because it's like we're going back in time. Inside every Macy's is Jeffrey, Toys R Us. And we came here over the summer. Wanted to come back, it's been a while. Every time I said, hey, I'm coming back to see you, Jeffrey. There's always a spot waiting for you. Come and chill with them. Something comes up, but I wanted to stop here because if it wasn't for Toys R Us, a huge impact on me getting back into retro toys and retro gaming. Like some of these Transformers here, I mean, perfect stuff. Ages 8 and up, 6 and up for kids. I mean, who doesn't like Optimus? I mean, it's cool to see this. I know kids getting into this, but this, as you know, as collectors, this isn't what we're really into. The thing is some of our stuff is mixed in with these toys. We see a lot of that at Target, at Walmart. You know, those Kenner Star Wars. You'll see the McFarlane Superpowers. The reason it sits there is the kids aren't into that, it's us. As cool as like having Donkey Kong Country, this might be an exception. I mean, this is a true toy store for kids. I'm a Toys R Us kid, I don't want to grow up. The collectibles per se aren't really at Toys R Us anymore. But it's cool to see Toys R Us. You know, you never thought, kind of wanted to see what was inside this drawer. They do have a couple of them. Kind of a storage area. They do have sales going on, so we're after Christmas, after New Year's, and this is what's remaining. I wanted to come back because if it wasn't for Toys R Us, which, you know, for me now, this is my Toys R Us because it's the only one we can find. It got me back in to nostalgia, basically. Just coming back to this mall, like, it's so lively. It's like what a mall used to be. I wish they were all like this. But there is a store right around the corner. We're gonna go to GameStop. And something really interesting, like I said, that I realized on my drive over here today. Before we go in, the classic iconic elevator. Just saw some people getting loaded here, heading down. Always cool to see, like, it's kind of like the center point. of the Mayfair Mall. Food court's just over there. Macy's, we just came from, all the way on the other end, actually kind of promoting it on the way. Yeah, we'll run into GameStop. Back in the early 2000s, that's where I would come for my Xbox 360 games. Now when I come to GameStop, I'm looking for nostalgia. I'm looking for action figures, and it's interesting that, you know, same for Best Buy. Like, I think a lot of people probably go to Best Buy for the same thing, because they do have, I mean, there's this stuff here you can only find here, and that's what keeps bringing me back to GameStop. Unless, of course, they had, you know, Golden Axe in here for $3.99. Really cool Millennium Falcon. Wireless charging pad. Like, I'll never forgive myself for passing on the Han Solo, like the frozen Han Solo cell phone holder. Like, if you ever saw it like Hallmark, this reminds me of that. I should have picked that up. Let me check it out. A Tiger handheld. I do have an X-Men. Still, it's cool you can press the buttons on here. The X-Men I have is completely covered in plastic. Picked it up at Target for like $14.95, probably 2 years ago. The Spider-Man, priced at down from $19.99 to $18.99. Just look at the back of this. Like, they were never, I had a Batman one, you know, back in 90, 91. You know, it's never what you thought, but it's that artwork. Like, it's just so nostalgic. If it wasn't for these Tiger handhelds, think about it. Everybody had one. There's just something about it. And like, you want it again, even though you know what to expect. It's nothing quite like them, is it? And I come here just for the superpowers. McFarlane, Superman. I did pick up a Superman recently, a Batman. Actually have some X-Men 97. Seen these at Target and Walmart. $23.74. A little cheaper here than what we saw. We have a Magneto and an Avalanche. I'm gonna pick up a Superpowers today. Either Superman. I'm kind of leaning towards Robin, just because that tear mark's gonna bother me. Actually, it looks like it might be a return. This is kind of open. Doggone it! I'm not gonna pick up Robin. I wanted, just love that artwork. I'm not gonna pick up Robin here. There is another GameStop that might have him. I'm gonna hold off. But yeah, I mean, I come here just for some of this. It's crazy. Actually, an invisible jet. And they do have the X-Men here. This is crazy. Like, this has been sold out for a while, but you see what I'm talking about. The plastic's totally covering. So the reason I never took it out was it's gonna tear up that artwork. You can see by Cyclops, Wolverine. Yeah, I have had this sitting in the basement on a shelf forever. I'm gonna find a price on here. $18.99. Yeah, that is awesome. I mean, look at this. Just for posterity here. I mean, when are you gonna see this again? Just incredible what we can find at GameStop. I mean, the amount of people here actually looking at all the retro nostalgia stuff. I mean, it just tells you. Come to this place, I mean, you're gonna find anything. We just saw those Tiger handhelds. GameStop, man, it's a really cool collectible store, and that's the difference here versus what we saw at Toys R Us, just down the aisle at Macy's. Yeah, who would have thought that a little box like this isn't the official Nintendo, but it's always out here right across from where GameStop is. I always like to come over here. What this did for, like, me personally, just completely, this little box right here, running out of time again, brought me back in to retro. And we might have picked a good time to come to Kohl's because it's the biggest clearance event of the season. And even though we struck out at Target, finding the Countercades at Kohl's, you've seen the head-to-head, the Galaga Pac-Man, along with what I think were the best this year, the Class of 81 Ms. Pac-Man Countercade. They do have a Pac-Man. All the choices still showing up at this Kohl's, and I gotta tell you, they're hard to come by. We finished out 2023, Countercades making a comeback. Hopefully in 2024 we see more Countercades from Arcade1up, because I think they'd sell well, especially around that $100 price point. If you're sitting here playing this, like people saying, Oh, those screens are so small. I haven't seen or heard, some people have been coming up here, have never said anything about this screen. They were checking out the wheel. It does demo. They pull these in. The steering wheel will start moving. Once you're playing these things, I always say this, you don't notice that screen. You're staring at the game. These screens are smaller than the Countercades. That's a good demo. Like, for anyone that says, I don't know if that screen's gonna be big enough, go to Best Buy, stand in front of that racing wheel, go look at the Rogue Alley, go play the Switch. Countercade screen is bigger than all those. Like half-price books too. I would have never went in here thinking it's just a bookstore, but believe it or not, there's so much nostalgia collectibles at this store, and really comes down to the NES Classic and Walmart carrying Arcade1ups. I mean, because of that, it brought me back to this. I mean, you guys gotta check this out. Oh, the Batman, Superman, Christmas ornaments. Like, every time you come here, different stuff. Look at this one. It's really cool. It shows Clark running in and then coming out. Along with retro gaming, so it's not just the books. Like, this is what we're all chasing, aren't we? Nostalgia. And the real expensive stuff is behind the glass wall. Like, you can see the Star Trek Enterprise Frosty with $50. Nostalgia sure has its price. Plus a ton of comics, and I just came across, I actually have this one. It's funny when you see a comic you have, like, going back in time here. Where are we going? 1992, 94. Thinking this was gonna be worth something someday. Yeah. Kind of wrong about that one. Here's a really good story, is I saw this at Target at least a year ago. Walked past it twice. Regretted it ever since. Look at this, $100. I'll never forget that. Like, I have not seen this since. Leonardo, Shredder. You never know what you're gonna come across. Target, Walmart, GameStop. So you're gonna come to a place like Half Price Books, a retro collector, and you're gonna see that same thing, double, triple the price. I actually saw the mini Sega Genesis here. It was $100. You're gonna see stuff like that at these retro places, and that's, you know, everyone's always on the lookout for it. Come back the next time, it's gone. My favorite Slade Wilson of all time, Deathstroke on Arrow. Never knew they made a figure. Actually, pretty good Green Arrow series. Not a bad price for the SNES, $80. Looks like the controllers, you get 2 controllers. I think the original one did come with 2 controllers. Seen that online, 100, 150. Not a bad price, but yeah, the Sega Genesis Mini. Last time I was here was on display here too, so coming across this stuff. And the best part is, you know, versus eBay, if it doesn't work, you can always return it, right? Because just bring your receipt back. That's the advantages of going to these retro stores, supporting the local store versus taking a chance on eBay, because we've all done that and hasn't always, you know, paid off right. Coming across nostalgia like this, I mean, this is exactly, look at RoboCop, an old program, County Stadium, a couple stadiums ago for the Milwaukee Brewers. The Packers would play there, Packers versus Vikings. You get the Avengers on there. Is that Mr. Arms? You never know what you're going to come across. Such an exciting hobby, isn't it? I mean, look at Harrison Ford. Went from the Xbox 360 to the Nintendo Wii U. Got the black one. I think it was the 32 gig. And that was it. Until that Nintendo Mini came out. That's what got me back into it. Look at all these Star Trek. This is crazy. And Wonder Woman. That's what got me back into it. And then going to Walmart and seeing Arcade1ups on display. Which also leads to collecting things from the past, and you know, I really enjoy doing it. I really enjoy finding all those retro toys every week. I think maybe we'll do this more often. We'll go out and look for special stuff. Nostalgia like Collect 4. Where else are you gonna see a retro pop figure? Firestorm. I always loved the Teen Titans, or the new Teen Titans. Nightwing, Cyborg, Kid Flash, Beast Boy, Raven. I love Nightwing. I mean, he was probably my favorite next to Batman and Superman. It's Robin getting older. That's gonna do it for today. How'd you come across it? Was it YouTube? Was it Walmart? Seeing those Arcade1ups there. Did you get something like the NES Mini that brought you back into the retro? Because I pretty much thought I was done after the Xbox 360 and the Nintendo Wii U. You know, the Nintendo Wii U was such a short-lived thing with me, and you know, that was kind of it, and I just thought I was done. And you know, with retro coming back, just changed everything for me. I want to thank everybody for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Who would have thought half-price books carried more than just books?